and your religion is worthless. Hey guys, welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are a new viewer, thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you've been here before, welcome back. So today we are going to continue our Watch Your Mouth series. Today is day 2, or I guess series number 2 of Watch Your Mouth. And if you have not seen series 1, I suggest you go back one and watch it and then come back to this video so that everything kind of like makes sense, if you get what I'm trying to say. But today we're going to continue that series, and I've got 2 verses, or 2 scriptures I should say. We've got 2 scriptures for us today that is going to be our main focus for today, and then it's going to, add a little bit of extra razzle dazzle with some more verses in there, so for you to take home and read for yourself. But today we're going to focus mostly on one thing for the most part. So here we go. We're going to read Ephesians 5 verse 3 to 5, and then we're going to read Colossians 3 verse 8. But I also, while I was studying, 2 verses kind of popped up towards the end. We're going to add verse 12 and 13 in that as well. So if you know what that means, go ahead and open your Bible, open the Bible app, and turn to this verse with me. We'll start with Ephesians 5 verse 3 through 5. Now, I just want to warn y'all, this one's a little heavy if you've never heard or read it before. So bear with me, okay? There's some love in there too. And it says, "Let there be no sexual immorality, impurity, or greed among you. Such sins have no place among God's people. Obscene stories, foolish talk, or coarse jokes, these are not for you. Instead, let there be thankfulness to God. You can be sure that no immoral, impure, or greedy person will inherit the kingdom of Christ and of God. For a greedy person is an idolater, worshiping the things of this world." Yep, I know, okay? But let's go ahead and read Colossians 3 verse 8 and as well as 12 and 13. And it reads, "But now is the time to get rid of anger, rage, malice behavior, slander, and dirty languages." Or nope, just dirty language. Now, verse 12 and 13 says, "Since God chose you to be the holy people he loves, you must clothe yourselves with tender-hearted mercy, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience. Make allowance for each other's faults and forgive anyone who offends you. Remember, the Lord forgave you, so you must forgive others." Now, I know these are a little heavy if you've never read them before, you've never heard about it, but don't worry, we're going to dive into it a little bit, just a little bit, you know what I'm saying? All right, so I'm going to go back to Ephesians 5. Now, today from Ephesians 5, I'm mostly going to be focusing on coarse jokes, because I feel like the rest of it you can kind of understand, but like the verse 4 where it says coarse jokes, foolish talk, obscene stories, I feel like this is the part that a lot of us kind of tend to brush off the most, or we don't really know what it is, because I know I didn't know what coarse jokes was for real, until I did the research, and I was like, oh, because I love a good joke. I like to laugh, but I realized that if you're older than me or around my age group, I'm 24. Like middle school, high school type of like when I was in middle school and high school, like our jokes, especially like back in the Vine days, we got some dark humor. I must say, we've got some dark humor. So like to hear and to read that coarse jokes is not something that we should be partaking in. I was like, okay. So we're going to focus today on coarse jokes. Now, what is the definition of coarse jokes? So before I even say the definition of coarse jokes, if you're wondering what obscene means, obscene just means obscene means indecent, dirty, sexual, rude. Those are like synonyms for obscene. And now we think about the definition of coarse joking. The definition of coarse joking is indecent. So here goes the same words: indecent or vulgar jesting. Now, I did not look up what jesting is, but I think that it could be referring to like gesture, or it could be another word for jokes, or indecent or vulgar jesting, improper jokes. Now, a lot of the times people use coarse jokes to refer to sexual things, but coarse jokes is not just dirty jokes. It's not just sexual jokes. It's also unkind jokes. It's also jokes that are offensive and jokes that mock others, which the Bible tells us and God tells us we should not be doing that, right? And if you're like me and you're like, man, I like to laugh and some things are just funny, trust me, I understand, right? However, here are a few reasons why we all need to be more mindful of the things that we entertain, the things that we indulge in, the things that come out of our mouth, and the things that we accept through other people's mouth, that we accept and we entertain, right? So here is why we must not partake in such things, right? Number one, it is improper for God's holy people. The Lord tells us in Ephesians 5, verse 3 through 5, he tells us not to do these things. I think it's verse 4 that says, "These are not for you. Such sins have no place among God's people," is the sentence right before. And so it's improper to God. And my best human example is when you love someone, or you like someone, you respect someone, if that person is important to you in some capacity, if that person says, I don't like when people cuss around me, I don't really like vulgar language, could you not do that around me? Because you love and respect that person, you're going to be intentional about what you say. You're going to be mindful about your words. You're not gonna, if your mother says, no cussing, you're not gonna just be out here blurping whatever in her house. First of all, you're finna get beat. Let's talk about that. You can't do that. One, out of respect, and one, out of the authority that your mother has over you. But if it were a mutual friendship, out of respect and out of love, you're going to intentionally not do that to that person. It's the same way with God. He tells us not to do that because it's not holy, it's not right. These are not things that we should partake in. And so because you love God, do not partake or do not play around with these things. Apply the same tool of, okay, well, I can't do this in my mom's house. Apply the same tool of, well, I shouldn't do this. I don't do this around this specific friend. Apply the same tool to what God says, except he's saying it, don't do it, period. To anybody, anytime. Because if he's omnipresent, he's omniscient, he's everywhere, baby. All the time, at the same time, okay? So number two of why we should not do this. Number two is our body's a temple, right? And we learned in the last videos that it's not what goes in, but what comes out that defiles a man, right? So if we're a temple, what comes out of our mouth defiles us. If we are a temple, we are also an instrument of righteousness. I want to go and read James 1 verse 26 real quick. This one also ties into the first reasoning where it's improper to God, but I feel like this one is a little heavy, but sometimes you just gotta lay it out just the way it is. James 1 verse 26 says, "If you claim to be religious, but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself, and your religion is worthless." I mean, it's what the Bible say, okay? I ain't write it. Okay? If you claim to be religious, but don't control your tongue, you are fooling yourself, and your religion is worthless. In other words, live please live according to the standards of the Bible. If you claim to be a Christian and you claim to love Jesus, you claim to love the Lord with your heart. Okay? Number 3. So number 3, again, kind of goes back to the first video. Please, if you have not watched the first video, go back and watch it. A lot of this is going to make a little bit more sense. Number 3 is out of our mouth, right, should come encouragement, truth, and praise, right? And I'm using these words referring to James 3, verses 9 through 12. Coarse joking, foolish talks, obscene stories are opposite of encouragement, truth, and praise, because you can't use the same mouth that you're using to praise God and curse somebody else. You shouldn't at least use the same mouth that you're using to exalt the Lord and worship, and you are saying things that are improper to God out of that same mouth, I should say. And don't get me wrong, I'm not gonna sit here and act like I've never cussed, I've never lied, I've never done all these things. If I said that, I would be literally lying to y'all right now. But what I'm trying to say is, these are things that our society has normalized so much so that we don't even think about it, and we're doing it. And if it's unpleasing to God, then we all should be intentional about what we entertain and what we allow out of our mouth and what we accept out of the mouth of other people, if that makes sense. Number 4 is really simple. Words don't have humor. If you're texting somebody who doesn't use any emojis and barely uses any punctuation marks at all, if they say something, it may have been a joke to them coming out of their mouth or coming out from their brain, which was their intent, but because you're reading it from your own lens, from your own perspective, or whatever is going on in your mind, you may not have perceived that as a joke, even if it were a joke, because words by itself do not have humor. We're the ones who added humor to it or whatever. And so because words don't have humor, you could be joking with somebody. It doesn't mean that they won't get offended. It doesn't mean that you won't offend someone, right? A short story where me and my best friend, we joke around a lot, and there are times where I'm joking with him, and it's a joke and we laugh together, but then afterwards he might feel some type of way and bring it up later, be like, hey, I know we're joking, but the way you said this, or I almost thought you were serious, or whatever it might be. You can't control how the other person feels about what you said, so be mindful of what you say is basically what I'm trying to say, because your words don't have any humor. All right, so with that being said, lastly, I'm not gonna give y'all the spiel without a fix it, okay? This is how we're going to work on not doing this. We're gonna work, this is how you adjust, or this is how we, because I'm included in this too, this is how we adjust our language so that we are not displeasing God, one, and so that we are living in and demonstrating the correct standards of being followers of Jesus Christ. Number 1, ask God to renew your mind and to change your tongue. In other words, change your language. If he renews your mind, basically renewing your mind, when I think of renewing the mind, I think of a clean perspective. I think of basically rewiring something. That's what I think of, renewing the mind, right? I think of rewiring something. Number two is probably the easiest and most practical one yet. Number 2 is literally expand your vocabulary. We've got dictionaries, we've got the intranet, okay? The intranet got a bunch of words, okay? And if you're like me, you make up words too. The internet has a bunch of words. We have the encyclopedia. Yeah, the encyclopedia. Find other ways to express yourself besides curse words and besides substituting words for curse words. Because even though you may not have said the curse word, you substituted the word, but you still have the same intent and we're still relying the same, you were still trying to relay the same the same word without actually saying it. So you were technically kind of still cussing. Number 3, practice being more aware of your thoughts and what comes out of your mouth. So in other words, think before you speak. Don't just let anything come across your mind, and don't just let anything come out of your mouth as well. All right, so with all that being said, I hope that was helpful to everybody, and I hope that you learned something. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below what you guys will want to talk about for either a following video or even series number 3, because we got one more video for this series left, and I have not yet figured out exactly what I am going to add to this last video. But if you guys have something in mind, comment below, let me know, give me some ideas, and we'll see how it goes. But until next time, bye.